Please watch this video. It's benchmark season. You guys hopefully did all this work or you wouldn't be able to see the video in the first place if you didn't submit it. So you should at least know if you got it right and know how to do these going into the benchmark. I'll try and make it quick. Problem number one. Student tried to graph this equation, negative 3x plus 3. And this was what they came up with. And they want to know, did they do it right or did they do it wrong? Oh, I just realized. Well, sorry, I had to redo this page because the first time I did it, you couldn't see it. And when I redrew it, I just noticed that I drew it through 2. It should have been drawn through 3. So this problem is going to be a disaster. So sorry if you spent a bunch of time on this and couldn't figure out the right answer, because really there is no right answer there. All right, my bad. All right, it should have been drawn like that through 3. So first of all, did they draw it right or did they draw it wrong? Well, the equation is a negative slope, so the graph should be going down. It is going down. It should cross at plus 3, which I drew it wrong. So you probably said no, but none of these reasons made sense. All right, so apparently now that I've drawn the graph right, yeah, it looks like it could be right. So to know for sure, we got to check the slope. Did they go down 3 and over 1 from one point to the next? Well, here's a point, and there's a point, and that is down 3 spaces and over 9. So 3 over 9 reduces to 1/3. So it's negative, we already said, because it's going down. So they graphed it with a negative 1/3 slope instead of a negative 3 like they should have. So they graphed it wrong. So the answer is no, they did not do it correctly. The only one that said they did do it correctly was C, so it was definitely not C. It was not correct. It was wrong. Why was it wrong? Was it wrong because they graphed it with a negative 1/3 slope? Yeah, that's what they did. And so that's why it was wrong. So it was A. Was it wrong because they made the X-Intercept 3,0? No, they did not make the X-Intercept 3,0. They made it 9,0. Was it wrong because they made the slope a positive 3? No, they did not make the slope positive 3. The line's not going up. So it should have been A, but I drew it wrong. Sorry. That's how you do those problems. You first decide if it's yes or no, and then start narrowing down, and then just read it. What did they do? What was their mistake? So you basically take the equation that they give you and you draw the graph yourself. And if it matches this, then yes, they did it right. If it doesn't match it, you're going to know what they did wrong. Oh, they drew their y-intercept wrong, or they drew the slope wrong. All right. Number 2. Which equation matches the graph? This one's a little confusing because it's not y and x, it's m and t. But y-axis, x-axis, whatever's on the y-axis is your y, which was m. So this was m equals t on your x-axis, mt plus b, slope, y-intercept, but y is m, capital M, and x is lowercase t. So that's what that's supposed to look like. So you need to turn this graph into an equation, which means we need to know what is m and what is b. Well, your y-intercept is 0. It's crossing at the origin. So it's just going to be something plus 0. It's going to be m equals something times t plus 0. And we never write the plus 0. You don't say, oh, there's 4 things there. You don't say there's 4 plus nothing there. You know, you just plus 0 doesn't change the value. So you don't write the plus 0. So it's just going to be m times some number t. So you can eliminate a and b. The y-intercept is not 7/4 and it's not 4/7. That's what a and b were saying. That is not the y-intercept. The y-intercept is 0. So it's either c or d. So we just need to know what is the slope. All right, and that was another thing that was tricky about this because it's written as 7t over 4, which is the same thing as 7/4 t, and that's the way you're used to seeing slope with the fraction in front of the letter x. Here it was kind of combined together. So this whole problem was kind of tricky, but it boils down to what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. That's the theme of this test. What is the slope? What is the y-intercept? Keep that in your mind and you'll be able to figure these problems out. Slope was 0, so you should have at least got it narrowed down to C or D. And The top number in the fraction is the rise. So how far are we rising? We're rising from 0 up to 14, and we're running from 0 over to 8. So rise over run is 14 over 8, which reduces to 7 over 4. That means it was C. C was the right answer on that one. All right, started you off with a couple of tough ones there. Hopefully it starts getting a little easier. The next one says, write the following equation in slope-intercept form. So the equation was 5y minus 15x is equal to 45. How do you put that in slope-intercept form? You solve for y. There you go. Solve for y. All right, that means add 15x to the other side and then divide by 5 to get y all by itself. Solving for y means get y all by itself, and that's what y equals mx plus b is. So this was a minus 15x, so I'm going to add 15x to the other side. Now you divide by 5, and you divide everything over here by 5. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So you get 9 plus 3x. So are any of our choices 9 plus 3x? Oh, it wasn't multiple choice. You just had to write in the answer yourself. So you could either write that or you could write this. It doesn't matter if the 3x or the 9 is the first, as long as they're both positive. So that was the right answer for write the equation in slope-intercept form. And then also you had to pick which one of these charts goes with that equation. Well, the y-intercept is 9, and here's 0, 9, and here's 9, 0. So which one is a y-intercept? It's the one that has 9 for y. It's a y-intercept. Which one has 9 for y? This one. This has 9 for x. That's an x-intercept. All right, your intercepts always have a 0 in it. If it's a y-intercept, y is going to be a number. If it's an x-intercept, x is going to be a number. So that was choice A. All right, 2 pages to go here. Problem number 4 was the first problem on page 2. And that was, what is the x-intercept of the equation 3x minus 4y equals 12? So, like I just got done saying, intercepts, one of the numbers is 0. We want to, and the whatever intercept you're trying to find, that's a number. So you're trying to find the x-intercept. So x is going to be a number, y is going to be 0. So put a 0 in for y. So you get 3x minus 4 times 0 is equal to 12. Anything times 0 is 0, so you just have 3x is equal to 12. X is equal to 4. Choice C. Which equation has the same slope but a smaller y-intercept than the graph? Well, one of these has the same slope as the graph. The only way we're going to know is to figure out what is the slope of the graph. To figure out the slope of a graph, you have to go from one point to the next, straight up and straight over, rise over run. So that's our triangle. How far up and over? 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. How far over? Looks like 1, 2, 3 spaces. It's right above the 3. So we went up 4 and over 3. So our slope was 4/3. So which one of our choices has a slope of 4/3? A and D. So it's one of those two, A or D, same slope, 4/3. But a smaller y-intercept. Well, what is the y-intercept of this graph? The y-intercept was 2 right there. It crosses the y-axis at 2. So which one of these numbers is smaller than 2? 1 is smaller than 2. Very good. So it was D. D was the right answer. Okay, number 6. Rate of change question on a graph. That's basically saying what is the slope of the line. If it's a straight line on a graph, slope and rate of change are the same. And they want to know from 0 to 14 years. That's from here all the way to here. So I even drew the little line so you could tell exactly where the point was above. It was right above the 14, straight across from the 250. So we went from here to here. Our run was 14. from 0 to 14. What was the rise? How far up were we going from this point all the way up to here? We were going up to there, which was from 50 to 250. So we went up 200. So it was 200 over 14, and those are both even, so you can split them in half. 100 over 7, and that does not reduce. 7, nothing goes into 7, it's prime. 7 doesn't go into 100, that doesn't reduce. So that you could leave as your answer. $100 every 7 years. 200 over 14. All right, 100 over 7, rate of change, rise over run. Okay, which value of x is correct for negative 2x minus 3 is greater than, I can't see it, 7. Well, first you got to solve for x, get x by itself. That's what you do with equations when they ask you to figure something out. So you add 3 to the other side to get 10, and then you divide by negative 2. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. Now, what do you do when you divide by negative? You flip the inequality. So they want to know which one of these values satisfies this equation. It is not B. People want to pick B on this one because you solved it and you got negative 5 and you see negative 5. Like, oh, I solved it right. There's the answer, negative 5 that I got. But this is not an equal sign. It doesn't say x equals negative 5. It says x is smaller than negative 5. Less than, it's pointing at the x. X is the smaller one. So which one of these numbers is smaller than negative 5? Negative 6. Negative 6 is colder than negative 5. It's smaller. So C was the right answer on that one. Be careful on those. Okay, last page. You only had to do 3 of these because the last one we haven't gotten to yet. That won't be on this test. And the first 2 are simply problems that are evaluating a function at a given value. F of what? So they give you a number, you plug that in for x, and you do PEMDAS. You see what you come up with. So in this one, you had to do it twice. There were 2 answers. They wanted you to evaluate at negative 3 and positive 2. So let's do negative 3 first. 3 times 2 times negative 3. So that was an x, now it's a negative 3. Minus 4 squared plus 3 times x. X is now negative 3. So we had 2 x's. We got to put a negative 3 in for both of them. PEMDAS, do what's in the parentheses first. There's nothing to do in this parenthesis. In this parenthesis, there's a lot to do. You multiply before you subtract. So you get negative 6 minus 4. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. You're $6 in debt. You're going down another $4. Now you're $10 in debt. 6 degrees below 0. You're subtracting another 4 degrees. Now it's 10 degrees below 0. It's negative 10. All right, so everything else stayed the same. All right, we did our parentheses, PEMDAS. Now we do exponents. What's negative 10 squared? It's not a negative 100. Negative times a negative is always a positive, so it's positive 100. 3 times 100 plus 3 times negative 3. So we have to multiply and we have to add. PEMDAS, you multiply first. So this is 300 plus 3 times negative 3. That's a negative 9. So plus a negative, that's subtract. We're subtracting 3 here. I'm sorry, 9. So we get 291 was the answer for the first one, 291. All right, the second one said enter a 2 in for x. So let's make both of those 2's. Okay, same thing, in parentheses. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So 0 squared is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So this all turns into 0. Plus 3 times 2, which is 6. So that was a little bit easier. That was 6. Next one, same thing, evaluated negative 1, but it's a different function this time. It's x cubed plus 4x squared plus minus 5, and they want you to substitute in a negative 1, so it's negative 1 to the 3rd power plus 4 times negative 1 squared minus 5. Nothing to do inside the parentheses, so we go to exponents. Negative 1 to the 3rd power is negative 1. Because the first 2 negatives make a positive, and then that 3rd negative flips us back to negative. So So we have negative 1 to the third power is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1, because a negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 1 is 4, so you get negative 1 plus 4 minus 5. Negative 1 plus 4, you're in debt $1. You put $4 in there, now you're above 0, 3 above 0. 3 minus 5, you have $3, you spend 5, now you're back below 0 by 2, negative 2. So that was negative 2 for number 9. Okay, last problem. Number 10, average rate of change. What is the average rate of change from 2 to 6? That's from here to here. So we have to figure out what did we add to get from those points. Well, 2 to 6 is easy. We added 4. This one's not quite so easy. From 44 to 160, how much did you add? 116. If you don't know that, you have to subtract the two numbers, and you'll get 116. So you added 116, you added 4. Rate of change is a fraction. Is it 4 over 116 or 116 over 4? Rise over run. Y over x. That's y. When you see the function notation, that's y. So it's 116 over 4. They're both even. You can split them in half and get 58 over 2. Those are still both even. You can split them in half again. You get 29 over 1. Anything over 1 is just itself. So it's 29, which was D. This last one was scatter plots. We'll get to that some other quarter this year. That used to be a quarter 1 standard. It no longer is. So you don't have to worry about that one. Okay, so 11 review problems. Shouldn't be any surprises on the benchmark. That's a really good study guide, people. Hopefully you put some time into that and these explanations therefore made sense to you. If they don't, you better watch it again, try and figure it out, and please, if you can't, email me questions. Email me.